Hi everyone. This video is just to help walk us through how to read a Common Course numbering template. Many of us have seen this visual. It just walks us through the various things that we can expect to see on a Common Course numbering template. Parts that will be identical will always be marked as such, and parts where there's two parts. One is identical and the second is optional. So there will be several different parts. First, the subject identifier and course number, straightforward. The course title will be straightforward. Both those elements will be identical at all colleges in the California Community College system. The course description, the course content, the course objectives and outcomes, the method of evaluations, and the representative text will all have two parts. The first part will be identical, and then the second part will be optional. Let's look at what that looks like in practice, now that we have a sense of what it is in general. This is one of the Phase 1 Common Course numbering templates. This is for the Ingalls C1000 course. So this is what the template looks like. It's all broken into these boxes. So the subject will be over here, subject code, proposed course number will be here with its marcation that it's identical. The course title, most of these courses in Phase 1 had a change of title. We are not sure what will happen for the future phases. The catalog description, there will be one part that says Part 1, identical and required. That will be required for the adoption of the template. There will be a part 2 that's optional and expanded up to our local college discretion. Going forward, any information about CalGETC will be listed here, other things as well, for major preparation, for UC transfer, etc. These are all present on the template, but won't be part of what we will build and what we will pay the most attention to as we are making our courses align with the template. There'll be a minimum unit threshold. We can go over this minimum unit if the course already exists as over that minimum unit. Going forward, you see the same thing happen here. Course content, we call this course topics at ARC. Part 1 required. They'll be listed out like this, and then there'll be an optional part 2. Course objectives, these ones will be part 1 identical, part 2 locally developed, methods of evaluation, part 1, part 2 to be locally developed, representative text, manuals, and or OER that is equivalent, or other support materials. We must have representative text. These are not required mandatory text to be taught in the class. They are just representative text to help us build our articulation, build also training for future instructors, and then an approval date. How we're going to handle reading through and helping us read through these templates is by using side-by-side charts. So this is the exact chart that we used in English to compare the template, what was in part 1 of the template that we just looked at, against what was in the outline of records description. And we looked for places where there were things that were missing, things that we thought were important for our articulation, but also for how we taught the course locally. And so we built part 2 of the description, just like this. Same thing with course content. Here's what was on the template in part 1. And then part 2, we expanded it using things that were already in our course topics, just moving them over to the left-hand column. We did the same thing with part 2 of objectives and outcomes. Right-hand side, these were things that we already had in the course outline. Here's how we represented them over in part 2 of the template. Same thing with methods of evaluation. And for us specifically, and the case might be true for others, we added a great deal to the representative textbooks list for part 2. And that was our process. Things that weren't included in the template are the methods of instruction. They're leaving that up to local discretion, and also typical student assignments. Most of us, for phase 1, used the existing sample assignments that are in Socrates. Some of us chose to update the sample assignment as we brought it over to the template as well. Whatever our choice is fine in that regard. Hopefully this gives us a sense of how to take what is represented in this template, use it to compare against the existing course so that the required elements, what's identical, what's optional, and local, can be best represented. Always reach out with any questions. This won't be the first nor the last contact we have about this. Thank you so much for engaging in this work.